Hey everyone, it's Connor back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to write better AI prompts for building your iOS apps. I'm Connor, an iOS developer, and today we're going to break down the key components of what makes a great prompt for building iOS apps with AI. When it comes to writing great prompts for iOS apps, I break it down into 5 key components. Those are the role, task, context, steps, and output framework that I use. This is the same framework that we use inside Sparka to help generate better prompts in the app, and it is similar to things that I've learned as a certified prompt engineer. So I want to go through each of these step by step and how you can use this framework to think about your prompts when you are using AI tools to build iOS apps. So the first one we'll get into is the role. So when it comes to defining the role that the AI should assume when writing code, this is really important. When you are especially starting out with AI and prompting and things like that, you want to be clear about the context that you want the AI chat to have as far as what role it's playing in assisting you with your development. In this video, we're going to be using the example of building a speech-enabled journal app where it's a largely voice-powered journaling app for your iPhone. So you want to assign the role for something like this is you want to let it know it's an iOS developer that specializes in AV foundation and natural language processing, right? Because those are the key things that we're going to be working with when creating a feature for speech analysis and transcription and recording. And then you would continue to be more specific. So with expertise in apps like voice memo tools or therapy journals, ensuring seamless integration of speech recognition and UI feedback. So give it the context of what it should assume. This helps the AI make assumptions and conclusions about how it should handle things. This is kind of the fallback. Instead of not assigning the role, it will probably just guess. Once you have defined what the role should be for the chat, you then give it a specific task to accomplish. So the task for our journaling app would be to build a Swift UI view for a voice-activated journaling screen that starts transcription on a button tap, displays real-time text, performs simple sentiment analysis on the transcribed content, and overlays visual mood indicators. It could be emojis or colors, while saving entries to a local store. So this is very specific about what we're trying to accomplish with this prompt. You don't want it to guess on what to do. You don't want it to just make decisions for you, because then that could spend a lot of time debugging or cleaning up stuff or undoing things. So you want to be very specific on what you want the AI to accomplish, and that is your task. The next key component is the context of this, right? So for our feature here, we want it to know this is for an iOS app on iOS 18 or greater using the speech framework for transcription. We need to make sure it requests user permission appropriately. For sentiment analysis, assume core data entity journal entry with fields, date, text, and sentiment score. The design should be clean and intuitive with a microphone button, scrolling text view, and dynamic overlays. Handle errors like no speech recognition available or poor audio quality. So this is giving the full context of what is going into this feature, the data model, the minimum deployment target for the app, what frameworks we're going to be using, context of how we expect it to handle errors. Just think of it as painting the whole picture of what's in your head. And you can either assume the role for yourself of explaining this to a coworker as if you were in a pair programming session, or even if you were to explain what you're working on to a 5-year-old, what would it need to know to accomplish your task successfully? And that's how you think about building the context. Next in the framework is the steps and structure. So you want to be specific on how you want it to execute the task that you've assigned it, or how you want it to respond. So for this example, we would say something like organize your response, a high-level overview of the feature and tech stack. We want the full Swift code for the view, including imports and permission handling, step-by-step guide to integrating sentiment analysis and saving data. Suggestions for enhancements like adding voice commands or cloud sync. So, right, we're building this whole prompt to give us the instructions we need to build this app. So this is exactly how we want the response to be structured. And so it spits out everything that we expect, right? AI is not going to read your mind. And so you want to be specific about what you're expecting it to say to you. So if you want specific information, if you want it formatted a specific way, or if you want anything handled a certain way, this is what the steps and structure is really great for. If you're doing something like debugging, then be specific about how you want it to debug. I often tell AI tools to study the project, study similar implementations if I'm building a new feature or solving a bug that I've solved a similar one previously, look at specific files before you start coding or make a plan before you start coding. This is the steps and structure that we're building inside of our prompt, and don't want guessing games here, right? Just be specific. Lastly, we have the output. The output is the exact thing that we expect to get back out. So for this example, provide everything in Markdown format with code fenced Swift blocks. Include a final bullet list of key user interactions to test. Keep it concise, error-free, and directly implementable in Xcode. Right? So there's no guessing games about what we want out of this prompt here. It's very specific on what that should look like. And you might be wondering what the main difference is between output and steps and structure. We gave it steps here about how to approach the response, but the output is how we expect to see the response. So the step-by-step guide to integrating sentiment analysis, saving data for suggestions. This is the structure of how the response should be, but the output should be specifically in Markdown format with coding in Swift blocks and then a final bullet list of key user interactions to test. So let's look at an example of a good and bad prompt and why this makes so much difference. So over in ChatGPT, I just have a very basic prompt that's very vague. Hey AI, I need you to help with making a journaling thing for my app. It's like voice stuff. Can you write some code for a screen where people talk and it writes down, maybe checks if they're happy or sad? Use Swift UI or whatever works for iOS. It's for recent iOS, and save the stuff somehow. Make it look okay with a button. If there's errors, handle them. Tell me how it works and give me the code. This would be like if you were using voice to text, right? And you were just kind of spitting out your ideas, but then you realized you weren't really clear on what you would say. So I'm going to send this prompt and we'll see what the response looks like. And then we'll compare that to a well-structured prompt like we used in our example. Okay, so it gave us some information on how this works. It might be confusing to us because if our prompt is this vague, we probably don't understand what it is we're asking super well, right? So it's going to do all this stuff. It's going to explain how it works. It gives us some Swift data code, which is good. It's like that worked, right? But this could be a lot better. And the one thing to remember about prompting is the models are getting really good. So, as important as prompt engineering is, context engineering is even more important, because if we use this prompt and we already have an existing app, but we're needing another feature, this is not going to be helpful for an existing app because it's not going to understand the existing structure, the existing data models that we have in. Like, this would probably work, honestly, but it could be a lot better. And so we're going to go to a new chat and we're going to use that prompt that we crafted with each step so you can see the difference. I'm going to copy this, put this in, and we'll see how much better the response is. You don't need to assign role, task, output, and structure and all these things in the prompt. You don't have to label them necessarily. It can and it helps sometimes. But as long as you're just hitting these key points in the prompts, that's what really matters here. So this says, okay, I've got it. We're building a SwiftUI voice journal screen. We need request permission. So here is the code, right? We can copy and paste this and it's in a block like we asked it to. So this looks similar to the other code, but it's a little bit more comprehensive in that it's done our emoji handling here, our mood color that we expect. It's got some more error handling. This is going to look a lot closer to what our vision is because we've spent the extra time to give it the prompt we want. And now we have the step-by-step part of this where there's the permissions flow. We hit start recording. There's line transcriptions, stop recording. We save it to core data, and we have error handling. And this is some enhancements we can consider. This is just a lot more helpful because it's exactly what we asked for. And so we're going to know what to do with it. It's very specific. It's tailored to our app already because we gave it context of how our data models work and things like that. This is why I think it's so important to spend extra time on your prompts. Think about what you want. Be very clear about what you're expecting from AI before you just start coding. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and pain from debugging and undoing stuff that's not right. But when you are specific with your prompts and you assign the role, you assign the task, the context, steps, and output, the results of using AI is going to be a lot better. This is a great just mental model to, if you're new to using AI models, if you're trying to get familiar with how AI coding works, or if you're just wanting better outputs and you haven't been getting the results you want from AI, this is a great framework to follow. Every time you sit down to write a prompt, make sure you can answer at least 4 of these before you move forward and enter your prompt, and your AI results are going to be much, much better. If you're interested in more specific prompting tips and help with building iOS apps, you can check out my community, App Launch Club. We have a community of builders already shipping iOS apps, fully using AI, building AI features into their apps. We meet every week to build together, get questions answered, help you get unstuck. I'm here every day, so if you have any questions or need help building your app, you can ask me directly and use our 14-day idea to app launch roadmap to get your app actually shipped with the latest and greatest AI tools and workflows. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.